Hello everyone, many thanks for joining us. This is Hot Seat on Ogtv 25 UHF. We have another distinguished Nigerian as our guest today, another individual who steadily owns his own in the midst of many. He is a Nigerian who is based in the United States. An international forensic accounting expert is our guest on the program today. He is, of course, of Ogun State extraction. Our guest is Dr. Olasupo Ogunfemi. Dr. Ogunfemi, it's nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Shino.
Our guest on the program today is involved in business turnarounds, cost control, financial and liquidity management, among others. He was the pioneer president and chief executive officer of the Digital Bridge Institute, which is an offshoot of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, in Abuja. He served in that capacity for a period of 4 years. He is also the one in charge of an institute that is based in the United States, known as the Human Capital Development Institute of United States. He is also in the process of setting up the Elite Business School in Nigeria, which is essentially to focus on capacity building in technology, engineering, finance, and business in Nigeria. Our guest attended Lagos State Polytechnic, Lagos, City University of New York, Lehman College in New York, United States of America, Columbus University, Louisiana in the United States. He is a certified public accountant of a number of states in the United States, talking about New York, New Jersey, Georgia, and Maryland. He is a fellow of the Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Again, we're pleased to welcome Dr. Olasupo Ogunfemi to Hot Seat this moment. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Kayode Taiwo is on the program this moment. Kayode, we have another of Nigerians making exploits in foreign land in our midst.
Yes, Shino, the most thrilling part of our guest today is that at the time that Nigeria is looking at how do we solve this problem of corruption and all of that, financial mismanagement, to have an expert in the house, I'm very sure will add value to what our viewers out there would see on the program. That's why I also want to welcome Dr. Ogunfemi to the program. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, this is something that is seemingly new. I had been hearing of accounting, auditing, and so on and so forth. Forensic accounting and auditing appears to be new in this kind of environment. What is meant by forensic accounting, forensic auditing?
Okay. Thank you for that question. There's been a lot of misunderstanding in that area. Forensic is actually not new. It's not a new concept at all. But it is being brought to fore in our lands mainly because of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, an institute to which I belong, did fit about 6-7 years ago to start a forensic certification program. I was part of the initial group of people involved in the dissemination of and imparting this knowledge to our existing chartered accountants, and I am. Forensic basically means that which may lead to litigation. So at the onset, any involvement of any forensic expert, be it accounting or any other area, it is that you must have at the back of your mind that this may lead to litigation, the court system, whatever it is. And so you have to prepare for that. Now, forensic accounting, if you will, you can call it an extension, a more focused and detailed extension of the regular audit. I know maybe the audience are not exactly accountants, and maybe both of you are not, but so I don't want to go too technical. However, in the audit process generally, we use what we call sampling. In other words, you don't look at everything, and you cannot assure the readers of the financial statements and your audit report that everything is completely all right with the organization you audited. In forensic, it's a little bit different and more focused. You're actually looking for something, in most cases fraud. And that is, let me just leave it at that for now. That is the slight difference between forensic accounting by itself and the audit process. However, we use similar techniques as a base. However, but forensic accounting is more focused. It's like a detective looking for a murderer, as opposed to the audit process looking to say that the house is probably okay. Two different things.
Now, Kayode, a while ago you were talking about the fact that his presence here will assist us to have further insight into how best we can curb the issue of corruption and corrupt practices in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Forensic accounting is all about detecting fraud and bringing those who are involved to bear. Forensic accounting is not new in Nigeria. Then what is missing?
Well, I think what is missing, first, let's put it across to him as an expert. Perhaps let's also share his own opinion on his observation of Nigeria financial system. Perhaps it is a problem of institution, or perhaps it is the problem of who are in charge. I don't know. Maybe from your own expert background, you'll be able to at least say something about that.
Thank you for asking that question. The environment, the culture, the belief system of the people generally play a very big role in how certain elements of the legal system plays out. You can use the technique of forensic accounting and other forensic areas to reduce, to detect, to prosecute, to mitigate even certain existing factors. But when we have what we call inherent issues, from what I've observed, this is not to knock our system, because it's a work in progress in any culture anywhere in the world. No place is perfect. However, the system here and the structure here tends to forgive and look the other way people who do bad things, people who commit crimes, financial crimes. We do have institutions that deal with that, the ICPC, the EFCC, we can go on and on. But fundamentally and systemically, structurally, we are not set up to prevent, reduce the incidents, even prosecute appropriately people who cross the lines. We tend to glorify those who do after the fact. When I was younger, it's a big deal. It used to be a very big deal if your name was rubbed in the mud. As a matter of fact, there was a saying that whatever you do, you don't spoil your family name. Now, as long as you make money, it almost doesn't matter. Somebody will come around to offer you a chieftaincy title, and so on and so forth. This tends to tell the younger people, and in law enforcement itself, the whole structure, that what can you do? However, should we throw up our hands and give up? No, we have to do what we can. Forensic accounting and the whole forensic area will not close the whole aspect of crime, but it will help somewhat if we are all dedicated and committed to do something about it.
Okay. Now let me quickly call your attention to this, and I want your take on this particular incident. Some times ago, one of the former governors was actually tried for corruption. Here he escaped. Down there in London, he got convicted. Could there be some problems with the law of the land that encourages all this kind of financial misappropriation and corruption?
Okay, well, knowing that I'm not a legal expert, and also touching on the political hot button, though yes, I do have an opinion as a Nigerian, as an interested party. It is the same set of, from my understanding of the case, I know who you're talking about, it's the same set of evidentiary matter that the other side, the UK system, used to have the former governor convicted. One will wonder why those set of evidentiary matters could not be used here, and why the case was dismissed or whatever happened to the case. Again, I don't claim to be a legal expert or an expert in that particular case. However, that definitely sends the wrong message. No doubt. If you do not have any reason to go outside of the country of Nigeria and you do anything bad, financial crimes, misappropriations, thefts, whatever it is, corruption, as long as you can withstand the initial heat, it seems like you may get away with it. That's a very bad signal to send to our folks, especially the younger ones looking up. A whole generation grew up knowing that it is not what you know, it is who you know. That's going to be very difficult to reverse, but it's not impossible, because we are all witnessing and victims of the realities born out of that, the consequences. I always said, for the most part in our part of the world, we have a twin set of issues that make our system even more corrupt, and people do just whatever they want. The first is that we have a lack of training. Most people are not trained in what they do. Even when you are already trained in the basics, knowledge continues to evolve. You should be retrained. And then the bigger one, the second part, is a lack of accountability. If there are no consequences, if you are not held accountable to your actions, what is the incentive to not do that? What is the incentive to do good? Those who do, what comes out of it? But if we continue in that pattern, we all know the potential results, and we're trying not to have that.
Let's take a look at both the public and the private sectors. We can't be talking about full deployment of forensic accounting without also not ensuring that we have good corporate governance practices. Both areas are quite critical to development of any economy. This is Nigeria, where most is forensic accounting deployed.
Oh, right now, we are advocating mostly to start from the private sector, because across the board, the SMEs and also the larger organizations that are private, they have a lot of control, or they can exert a lot of control and put certain restrictions and certain guidelines and certain control measures in their system to ensure compliance, and for instance, to set up governance code for the entity. These are existing or new policies that they will bring, continue monitoring those and making sure it is communicated from up down, down up, across both sides within the system, and enforced. There's something we always say. You can have a whole set of good internal control structure or system. If they are not monitored regularly, continuously, and improved, it is almost like you have a very nice vehicle with all the gadgets in it, but you have a drunk driver who's taking you from Abeokuta to Sokoto, and you're sitting in the back saying, well, my vehicle is good, it's made by white people, so it's not a problem. You may not get to where you're going. That's just an analogy in that sense. However, the government establishments too, we've been doing a lot of training. Part of the training, like I mentioned, that I provided yesterday through the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, was for a government agency. It was for the auditors of a government agency, of a state government in this very country. And like I said, it was a whole day affair, 4 different classes. One of them is about governance.
Now, I see that you have competencies in business turnarounds, cost controls, financial and liquidity management, among others. Now, these are competencies that are rare, so to say, alongside the fact that you also have the ability to deploy technology as much as you can for the betterment of corporate practices. The corporate environment of Nigeria seems to me to be bedeviled by people who want to play the fast one. on the system to be able to stay up there and say their establishment, their companies, their organizations are perhaps the best through falsification of another accounts and so on and so forth. Instances abound in this country.
Thank you. Not to make Nigeria escape the realities and the responsibilities to change what you just said. Some of what you just said abound elsewhere too. However, it's more entrenched here because of lack of consequences. Now, whether you are an individual, whether you're a government, whether you're a business entity, most entities can control their cost because you have that capability. And most cannot control their revenue because the earning of the revenue is subject to other people's controls. Now, what should a sane entity do? You should manage not just the pursuit of additional revenue, but cost containment, cost control, whatever you will call it. When you have corruption, when you have people who do not have the training or who do not care, who just want to take a chunk, meaning if you don't give it to me, I will grab it. This is my opportunity to grab. What you're actually grabbing is the opposite of the cost control. You are running cost amok. Even when your business is doing good in terms of sales, in terms of revenue. If you make $1 billion and your cost is $1,000,001,000, you are not doing well. It's not just the volume of what you make, it's also a function of what you spend. Now, there are so many different ways to institute control measures to try to reduce that. It is difficult to continue to completely eliminate anywhere in the world, but efforts should be made to contain such a run-around cost, and part of it is the eliminating or reducing incidences of corruption. If anyone put their hands into the cookie jar, and at the end of the day they got punished for it, not just making sure that they pay back what they stole, but they paid additional punitive cost as a deterrent. Most people will not be interested in doing that. If you stole whatever amount and you think or you know that the system at some point will catch up with you and they will take that money back from you and also charge you additional money for doing what you did, you're not likely to, because it's not a good business. But if you know that it is those that are caught before taking it that suffer, that once you take it and you can put it away, you are now an elite, then you want to do that.
In the course of your earlier response there, you said ICANN actually came up with certification of forensic experts about 5, 6, or 7 years ago. And when you look at ICANN as a body of professionals, they've been in the system for quite a long time. Could that then be that ICANN is just waking up to respond to the rates of corruption in Nigeria? But why does it take so long? Because one of the reasons we do here, why most of these corrupt persons escape, is the fact that we don't have experts who can actually nail them with facts like what you've just told us that forensic expert will be able to do. So why does it take ICANN so long before?
Okay, I'm not going to
you do not want to speak
for ICANN
no problem.
Or assume why they do certain things.
Okay.
ICANN, as you rightly said, has been around for a long time. ICANN is a body, it's an institute that has done a lot of good, not just for its members, but also for the country at large. The audit process, for instance, nobody for a while could conduct an audit examination without some kind of certification from ICANN. In the past, you have to be ACA, Associate Chartered Accountant, or after some additional work in integrity and credibility and so forth, you become an FCA fellow Chartered Accountant, and then you can do. However, if I was just to say my own opinion, just a guess now, not speaking for ICANN, a lot of times setting up any kind of business venture, anything that will cost money, funds that are not readily available, it has to be a function of demand and supply. If the populace, be it members of the institute or the general population, do not seem to require or demand for such expertise, just churning it out may be a futile effort in terms of the business aspect. Spending money that you probably have 3, 4, 5, 10 attendees for a training. You do that repeatedly, it may not be worth it until people themselves probably demand for it. When the larger population, the economy, demands for forensic accountants, and then the regulator steps in to do the certification, and people, knowing that this will bring them additional businesses, now want to be certified, the request for this, it now makes more business sense. However, an institute like that obviously is not there just for the business aspect. But again, I cannot speak for all of that. But I would still say it's better late than never. I don't even think it's late. And since the inception, the certification program has produced very sound forensic certified accountants now from the institute, because I'm also part of the interviewing process. After you finish the coursework and pass the exam and so forth, we also interview you to see whether or not you have those traits that make up a forensic accountant, and the skill sets, not just passing an exam, attending classes. And we've seen a lot of very good ones, and it's also a very small percentage of those who take it that really scale through fully. So it's a very entrenched and very it's a great program that compares with anywhere in the world. However, well, I guess we are responding to the demand of the society, and like I said, it's better late than never. And I think some goods are coming out of this.
Okay. Now, let me now come up with some comparative analysis there as far as accounting control is concerned. When you look at the annual budget of USA, for instance, it's so huge and a kind of budget, but at the end of every time that is required, you hear the president saying, so is the figure, this is what we are owing, this is, and things like that, very precise. And they're looking at Nigeria here with a fairly lower portfolio, financial portfolio. We still find it difficult to really come up with a figure that can be acceptable by all. Central Bank will give one, you hear another one maybe from the minister, the NNPC will give another one. Why is it so difficult to have a centralized control system so that we can have a clear picture of what our financial situation is in this country?
Part of it is lack of transparency, which is actually required in such matters. Most of the, like you just said, most of the business, and I don't want to particularly compare the United States with Nigeria. However, since you brought that aspect out, most businesses of the United States government, you can see transparently broadcast. The discussions, everything, nothing is, well, except things of national security. That's clearly national security. That doesn't mean they don't play politics. As a matter of fact, today, yes, today they're having an election, a big one too. However, the populace, the American citizenship, the group as one, demands transparency. And it's very difficult for whoever is in charge of anything to not be transparent. And when one section speaks, the other section should be consistent with that. Sometimes there are little disagreements with the particular details, but the overall, you will see the consistency. When you tell the truth, you'll be consistent throughout. and you'll be transparent. There's no such thing as accidental fraud. We all make mistakes and there are errors. However, when something is fraudulent, usually you will see an attempt to not be transparent. And part of that is also arrogance of power. I don't have to provide this. I don't have to provide this to you. If we demand and entrench that request and make it a requirement, transparency, things will be different. Because before you go out and churn or say numbers, you will make sure that what you're saying is correct. You will do all your checks and balances. Sometimes a major part of the problem is information and communication. You might think people communicate enough, but they don't. They don't. And again, it also boils down to the arrogance of power. If I'm in charge of my own ministry, why should I have to defer to your own opinion before I say, as long as I make clear it with my own boss, I don't really care. That's not, government should be a collective effort as opposed to me. We are hoping that as more and more people that have the knowledge and have the interest and have the commitment and the love of country come in together, and I can see in the political landscape too, what I'm able to say so far, you see a lot of technocrats now coming in, people who have something to give. A lot of people like that were scared away before because you don't want to just stick your neck out there knowing that you will be rubbished. And we have all kinds of examples of that. But the call to serve the country can be more powerful and overbearing than that narrow, okay, I don't want to stick my neck out thing. So eventually, hopefully, very soon, we will cross that bridge and we will be the better for it.
Now, let's say in the next 5 years or 10 years, will it be possible for Nigeria to say, I am beating my chest that I've done pretty well in the area of fight against corruption and corrupt practices in both public and private places?
First, I pray so. Secondly, I sincerely hope so. Because if we don't, the consequences are much more grave than what we think we are saying now. We have not seen nearly or anything close to the worst case scenario.
Now, let me ask you of this. How cost effective, as a financial expert, is governmental process in Nigeria? Across all levels?
No, it's not cost effective. We know that already. Part of it is the requirement and some of the things put in the Constitution, which I want to believe originally was well meant. However, when you, like I said earlier, whether you're a government or individual or any other private entity, if you don't control your costs, regardless of what comes in, you will always have problems. Our political system, our governance, our governmental system loaded with waste, duplication, more duplication, and so forth. And all of this will drive up costs unnecessarily. And when you have that, meanwhile, the government has limited revenue generation base. Yes, some state governments are doing way more than others, and federal government is doing this and that too, especially with collection of revenue through collection of taxes, be it corporate taxes, income taxes, and so forth, all kinds of taxes. However, I mean, in other words, not just depending on the oil or other whatever else we have. However, it is not just the reliance on we can get additional revenue, it is also the containment of the costs. When costs keep running amok, and part of the reason it runs amok, people go into government, for instance, whether the regular civil service or other aspect of politics, going there to make money. There's something I want to share here, interestingly, just for our viewers to contemplate. There's something called the net worth method. This is one of those tools we use to determine if someone has committed financial fraud. If there's a way you could determine what somebody's net worth was, say a year ago or whatever period ago, and what the net worth is right now, when you take one from the other, you have, in most cases, an increase in net worth. Fine. What constitutes the increase? What makes it that? Then you look at what is known as that person's income for that same period. For instance, if you're a worker at a particular ministry, your salary is public information. So that's not that difficult to know. Or any political office holder. So that's not difficult to determine. Even if if you don't get it exact amount, you'll get something around that. Now, when you add that, when you deduct that, from the increase that you have, whatever is the excess is money coming in from unknown sources. Now, if that person could explain that extra revenue, income, money, cash, whatever it is, from unknown sources, including properties, your building, your vehicles, and so forth. If people are made to kind of justify that, especially public office holders, because they're spending all of our money. It's not the money public office holders are spending, their salaries, whatever, is from all of us.
There is an agency known as the Code of Conduct Bureau in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. That is the primary responsibility of such organization. Asset declaration before, during, and possibly after assumption of offices, and even across board. Does it then suggest that those who are there, I want to believe, would have professional accountants in that area? I want to believe we would have other professionals within that same environment in that ministry. Does it suggest the ministry or the agency is not doing that which it should do, or is being subverted?
Well, I don't want to speak for the agency, so I will not answer that question that way, but I can say this. The agencies may not have adequate resources to actually prosecute the whole gambit of prosecution, doing the investigation, collecting the evidence, taking it to court, and following up, and so forth, because it costs money and time. That should not be an excuse. However, the people in office should voluntarily comply with whatever laws of the land, even some that are not laws, but just on ethical basis alone. If you came into office and this is what you had, and by the time you're leaving office, this is what you have, it doesn't mean you stole it. It could have been, you may have done additional business, you may have, all sorts of things. Even some could have been gifts, as long as they're not compromised. However, if there's transparency to show where these additional assets are coming from, then everybody will be the better for it. It is when you want to hide something that you are not transparent. And if you are not being made to, everybody is doing it, why should I be different?
Now, a while ago, you were talking about the differentials in high net worth. For instance, you have individuals who came into office with about 1,000 naira, and at the end of that, hypothetically, okay. At the end of that service period, the high net worth has gone to almost about 10,000, 20,000 naira. Now, what officially is available to us as his or her pay within the period is subtracted from the whole lot, and what is remained is expected to be explained for as to the sources. Instances of being compromised or compromising processes to have additional resources cannot be just taken away. Don't you think professional accountants are also culpable in the process? Somebody who does not have accounting background cannot come into a process and want to compromise it without support of people who are in your profession. You are also culpable.
Okay. I do get that, and I understand what you're saying. I don't want to completely agree to that. That's not to excuse the accounting profession. Though, unless you are engaged, the accounting firm, the accounting professional, to perform, for instance, either an audit or forensic examination or investigation or whatever it is, you cannot voluntarily. I cannot just go to ministry of whatever or somebody in charge of something and say, let me just check why is he or she, why does his or her net worth balloon? How come she has this much now?
Now, I'm even talking about at the point of perpetration of that evil act. For instance, you have to pad contract sum, you have to inflate this and that. Nobody who does not have accounting background will first do that, which means from the outset, professionals are themselves subverting the process.
Now, I want to say something here that we've been, I think in our country and in this part of the world, we've been misconstrued. When you are not a certified, in the US, certified public accountant, nobody will ever refer to you as an accountant. You may have PhD in accounting. You are not an accountant unless you're certified. I think, and I want to believe, the same should be true in Nigeria. The reason, my own reasoning, apart from what obtains over there, is that in addition, when you have a degree from whatever university, it is the curriculum of that university for that discipline that you went through. We want to assume you truly went through it, you didn't pay for grades and so forth. You truly went through it. That is what the university awarded you after they believe you completed their program. But the certification process makes it uniform across the board and it's more stringent. You go through more hoops and you do more. Your skills are really tested in all areas, not just being able to listen to a professor telling you and then passing an exam, which is great, but that's not the only thing. You have to have practical experience and so forth and so on. And anytime they can kick you out, you lose your license. So you have a lot of reason to not only have integrity right from the beginning, but to maintain it so that you are not kicked out and you lost your license. Now, I have not taken a survey of the majority of accountants in our institutions of government. And I do know that I've come across a lot who are certified. And you can see, because when you love your profession, you can see the passion. But I want to believe, and I hope I'm right, because like I said, that most of those that compromise easily are not certified. They have not gone through any kind of certification process. They went to school, yes, got a degree in something, maybe in accounting, and then got a job. Somebody helped in getting the job, and he who pays the piper usually takes the tune. And when they are calling to do what, in fact, sometimes they even suggest what to do to compromise things, because they want to be seen to be doing favor so that they can continue to retain where they are. If you go through certification process of any institute, there's that belief. First of all, what you go through to just finish and get the certification, and what you are trained in terms of integrity, objectivity, anything that can put the certification process or the institute that award you or the profession in a bad light, you must avoid at all costs. That is drummed into your head. Well, human beings, that does not mean FCAs cannot be corrupt. But I say this, look at all the professions, all licensed professions across the world. You see that certified accountants are always held to a higher esteem. Part of the reason is it's not just the knowledge of numbers, but we are not a lot, first of all. It's very difficult to get certified, and you don't want to lose the certification. So you tend to abide by whatever rules. There will always be some bad eggs, and that's not to exonerate any certified person in the process you describe. But I want to believe those that are not certified are most. Anybody can be. I remember when I started out a long time ago. I worked in a bank. I will not mention the name of the bank. I worked as you usually start as in the savings department. And I remember each branch had what is called an accountant. That's a title. That is the position. Most of those, they don't even go to any higher institution.
Let alone being certified professionally.
But their position is called an accountant. So does that mean if he or she were to do something terrible, does that rub off on the accounting profession?
But
the assumption will be that the accountant of that bank, and by that title of the position, it is naturally taken as being an accountant.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to speak for the bank again, I think in those days it may be different now. Okay. And I'm sure it is different, because I've never even had any bank I've gone to transfer business, I've never heard of anybody being referred to as accountant there anymore. Okay. But in those days, you get a clerk, savings clerk, whatever. Finally, after so many, even 20 years, then you become the accountant of the branch, and then deputy manager or assistant manager, whatever it is, and then manager of the branch. It's just the title of that position. Obviously, there will be trainings and experience going on, but those training and experiences are mostly for the banking sector, and specifically for that bank. But if somebody coming from outside found out there was this big scam perpetrated by the accountant, then you go like, you see accountants, see what they do. Now, but is that an accountant? That's what I'm saying. Also, on the other side, most people who do not know the specifics and the details and the skill set required about certain aspects of any endeavor are not likely to go into it and commit fraud in that area. The reason is this. In other words, you are likely to have financial background, knowledge, and skill to be able to perpetrate a financial crime. Some don't have to have that, but most have some kind of knowledge and experience in that area. That's what they do. So that also means that,
So in that wise, let's look at issues of ethics in accounting as a profession. You also have human capital development expertise, and that means you are involved in training young professionals, either in forensic accounting or the general accounting. Now, to what extent is the ethics of that profession really rubbing off on the professional, those ones who are actually on the field, particularly in the public sector? Because the bulk of fraud and compromised performance we've been having majorly in government circle. In the private sector, perhaps annual auditing will reveal, and those who put in their money may want to ask questions. Does ethics in the accounting profession really come in to assist us in the financial sector generally? I am not saying that trained accountants are involved, but one way or the other along the line, we will find people who are in that profession in daily activities of public sector in the area of accounting.
Our legal system, we have a lot of laws.
Okay.
The crime rate in Nigeria and people committing crimes with impunity, it's not because we don't have laws. A lot of times it's the enforcement of those laws, the prosecution, and you mentioned a case of somebody with the same set of evidentiary matter got away here and somewhere else was convicted. The same set of, and at the end of the day, nothing really happened. So those that you might say look the other way. Maybe they will have their explanation, but I don't see anyone comment. Maybe they did and I didn't hear. Now, the same thing with ethics. Ethics in this case is actually beyond just the laws. You do not want to have the appearance of doing bad in any form. So as not to tarnish not only your image, the good name, the good family name, but also the profession to which you belong. In the US, in most states, if not all the states, certainly all the states that I have license, every renewal period, we renew our licenses, by the way. You don't just get it once and that's it. You have to renew it. And to renew it, you have to show that you have attended additional training. Usually up to 120 hours every 3 years. Just to put it in perspective, 124 hours is the number of classroom hours somebody that got admitted into a university in the United States would have to get a bachelor's degree. So which means essentially you are getting an equivalent of a bachelor's degree every 3 years in the profession that you've been in for 30 years. And part of the requirement in those many hours is ethics course. You must take ethics course, even though you took it 3 years ago. Again and again and again. The emphasis is to drum it into you so that you drum it into your clients, so that your clients drum it into their staffers and the larger society. Does that prevent crime completely in the United States? No. Does it reduce it to manageable level? I say yes. Now, can we institute same here? Yes. It's not going to be overnight. By the way, here too we have MCPA, mandatory continuing professional education in most areas of professions. That's true too, and I'm sure as somewhere in there, levels of ethics. Part of what I trained yesterday was in ethics. Ethics for forensic accountants. That's the name of the course. Ethics for forensic accountants. And drum into people's ears, first of all, code of professional conduct, code of ethics, the different requirements, and the consequences of violating any number of the ethics. I'll give you an example. You violate an ethics situation in, say, New York, with your New York license. They may ask you to do 80 hours on top of the number 120 hours over 3 years. You are going to pay a lot of money to do that, a lot of time. And while you are going through that, you cannot call yourself a CPA. You cannot hold yourself out as a CPA. When you think about stuff like that, if somebody is going to offer you $100,000 for something that normally you would charge $40,000 or $30,000, but you will have to compromise something. Yes, you are tempted to. Everybody wants money, but you say to yourself, "What I'm going to lose may be way more." Plus, somebody will also sue you, and then whatever they do to you, they publicize. Mandatory. It will be on their website. Somebody Google your name, they will see the penalty, all your records of punishment. Who wants that? So you say to yourself, you know what? Keep the excess 70,000. I don't want to.
30,000.
Yeah, let me just do the right thing and let me just go. It's not worth it. But here, I mean, yeah, we take go, give me money. I mean, we do something.
In all of this, when we're talking about issues relating to ethics, has it got anything to do with culture? Because earlier on you said like the totality of we are just using US as just one of the countries who could have used in this discussion or interaction. You said the people generally stand on the side of the truth, and that is to say that we won't accept you to tell us lies, to misuse our fund. But here, it's pretty difficult, even in a state, to stand up to a governor. How much more standing up to a federal government?
Culture is very interesting that you brought it up the way you did. And I don't want to restrict this part of my response to being a Yoruba person. But I grew up as a Yoruba person, and I grew up in Abeokuta. And there were a number of things that kept coming back to my head each time I'm faced with certain situations. I remember growing up, if your name is associated with anything bad, the whole family will be in shame. As a matter of fact, when the first armed robber was publicly executed, Babatunde Oyenusi, if anybody's name was Oyenusi, you have to change it. Even though you are not the person that committed the crime. In fact, you may not even be related to that family. But nobody wanted to be known as Oyenusi just because of what one person did. Now, it has changed. Who's to blame? All of us collectively? Some of us? The leadership? The followership? Who? I don't have an answer.
A big question.
$1 billion question.
I'm not equally answering you.
And I'm not prepared to provide an answer either.
We should all examine ourselves in that area. If I had, and I'm not an accountant, and I had a reason to believe your newly found wealth is questionable, and you invite me to any celebration, not even celebrate. People celebrate newfound wealth. They actually throw a party. But you're not even inviting me to that. You're inviting me something legitimate. Your son is having a graduation. That's good. That's something to celebrate. I should be reluctant to attend just because I have that question about how you got your money. Because I should not want to be associated with people that I have that doubt about, even though you are celebrating something good. But the contrary is true. I will come there and we will party together.
Not
by me doing that, I am putting my stamp on what you are doing. In fact, people will even say carry on, and they will pray for you too.
Dr. Ogunfemi, as we go on the program today, I do not know how passionate or otherwise you are about the Nigerian project. Fine, you are applying your trade in another land as one of those diaspora Nigerians out there in the United States. This is your homestead, Nigeria. How passionate or otherwise are you? What is your message to Nigerians? A message of hope, if any.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier in the introduction that I was the pioneer, president, CEO of the Digital Bridge Institute in Utaku, Abuja. There was a concerted effort by the leadership of NCC at the time, who actually went all over the world to secure someone that they believe will be qualified to take that bull by the horn and set the place up and run it in a business manner without having deference to the federal government to fund the place. Yes, initial funding was provided, but you should be able to generate your own revenue. Even private businesses that are well funded, the first 5 years are usually tough. But we came in. I closed down my practice, all my business practices in the United States. I shut it down to focus fully on this. You asked a question about being passionate about the Nigerian project. A number of people, both in the United States and in Nigeria, actually question my sanity. How do you, is it not Nigeria we're talking about? How do you close down the clientele that you've built up over the years to just come to Nigeria? You could have maybe kept it on the side and do, no. I wanted to focus. I always give this example, especially in the US, even to my kids especially, that the average Nigerian teenager, no lights at home, no computers. This was before smartphone, where everybody has access to the internet. Will go to a cyber cafe. The speed there is next to
Very
zero.
Very slow.
The environment is totally uncomfortable. While he's in the middle of something, the whole thing will crash. Yet, without any training, any formal training, he's able to do a lot, including using it for crime. You can't just use it for crime and be successful in it if you didn't put passion and energy and attain some skills in doing so. Imagine putting such people in a structured, comfortable environment. We will go places.
There's hope for Nigeria, certainly.
I hope so.
On that optimistic note, we'll call it quick on today's edition of the program Hot Seat on Ogtv 25 UHF. Our guest has been Dr. Olasupo Ogunfemi, a doctor of international forensic accounting who has competencies in business turnarounds, cost controls, financial and liquidity management, among others. He was the pioneer president and chief executive officer of the Digital Bridge Institute, which of course is an offshoot of the Nigerian Communications Commission. He is a Nigerian based in the United States, and he of course established the Human Capital Development Institute, which is in the United States. Our guest attended Lagos State Polytechnic, Lagos, City University of New York, Lehman College, New York, the United States, and of course Columbus University, Louisiana, in the United States. He is a certified public accountant in a number of states in the United States: New York, New Jersey, Georgia, and Maryland. He's also a fellow chartered accountant. He's so passionate about Nigeria and said if we do the right thing, Nigeria really would be a place to be proud of. And every one of us is enlisted in the Nigerian project as it marches to greatness. Dr. Ogunfemi, we want to thank you so much for your time with us here. Your thoughts have been quite provoking on this program. I must assure you.
Thank you.
It's not only provoking, but very enlightening.
Thank you. I learned a lot from you too.
We appreciate you. And I'm sure when next we invite you, you oblige us of your presence.
Oh yeah, I'm always available.
When are you returning finally home?
Home is Nigeria actually. So I'm home a lot.
Okay.
I'm always here, and also I'm transferring knowledge back here. So it is well.